Struggling to discuss sex and intimacy with your partner?
Not feeling met, seen, or heard in your relationships?
I'm Janelle.
And I'm Andrea. We're two midlife mavericks sharing our own experiences.
Messy AF and no regrets.
With marriage, divorce, polyamory, and pleasure.
We've learned that when you're brave enough to figure out what you want and ask for it,
with partners, friends, family, and most importantly, yourself,
you'll feel more alive and free.
Question everything, especially your mother's advice.
There's no rom-com formula for this, but don't panic.
Being alone matters. Honey, I can't miss you if you don't leave.
What if your breakup could be your breakthrough?
Our podcast is for brave hearts.
Anyone who seeks or has found the courage to confront their fears and limiting beliefs about breaking societal norms in the spirit of finding their truth.
If you're seeking permission to be brave in your relationships
and want to feel less alone along the way, we got you.
Okay, sometimes you have to kill your relationship. Yeah, and you have to see if you are coming back to each other. Mm-hmm. In this podcast, we talk about, we interview Yana and Cari about how they have killed their relationship many times. Mm-hmm. Death is important to life is what I got from that, Janelle.
I know, it was so beautiful, their description of that life has death in it. A tree goes into hibernation and it sheds its leaves. It loses the things it no longer serves. And then it takes that as compost and puts it into the flowers for the spring. And these two really showcase how it's a tool you can use for your relationship when it's stagnant, when it needs more life in it.
When you're carrying things from the past that you don't want to carry anymore.
Mm-hmm. So whether you're in a relationship or whether you're single or whether you're still haunted by a past relationship, this episode is going to be for you because it's guaranteed you're going to hear things you have never heard before about how to design a relationship that works.
Welcome to Permission to Be Human, Bravehearts. I'm Andrea.
And I'm Janelle.
And we're in the middle of our season 6. How to design a relationship that works. We have talked to many couples, some singles, and gotten all these different ideas about people who are breaking the rules and creating their own template, right? Creating their own way of living together, of being apart. There's all different things, sometimes very unexpected situations. And so I'm really excited to keep this season going. I'm learning so much already.
And we are thrilled to have my dear friends, Cari and Yana. By the time Bravehearts you're listening to this, we will all have just returned from New Zealand, from Haydn. And they are not only incredible couples, but they are also relationship death doulas. And that's the part that I'm really excited for you guys to learn about.
Yeah. Janelle, can you define Haydn? Just in 6 words.
Yana, 6 words.
Mystery school down under.
It's mystery school down in New Zealand.
Okay, amazing. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Cari and Yana. So here we go. Cari Caldwell, 52, and Yana Rumi, 51, are common law married and consider themselves nesting partners with an open relationship. They live together in Lakewood, Colorado, with Cari's 15-year-old son, and sometimes their friend Gerard. Yana is an author, relationship death doula, and content creator. He finds joy at the intersection of so many things, of AI and economics, spirituality, sacred sexuality, tantra, ritual and ceremony, nature adventures, travel, and ecstatic dance. Cari is an entrepreneur, a somatic leadership coach, a constellations facilitator, a relationship death doula, and a tantrika. She loves Bikram, yoga, poetry, erotic ritual theater, travel, and transnational politics. This is Yana's 3rd common law marriage and Cari's 1st. They've both been divorced once before. Cari and Yana have both explored polyamory and monogamy in the past. They like to do everything together except sleep, which I thought was a great line. So I can't wait to learn more about that. Especially because right now, like, I also cannot sleep with anyone else. And it's really maddening because I really want to sleep with my partner, but I really just get the best sleep when I don't sleep with him. So yeah, welcome to the show. Welcome to Permission to Be Human. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Amazing.
So I'd love to start with a couple of definitions right off the top. Can you please describe what it means to be, how you define nesting partners and open relationship?
Yeah, nesting partners, like, we have an awesome nest together that we've been rehabbing for the last year and a half. So we live, this is our home base. We're in different rooms in it at the moment. And this is our home. And open is we are both fully in support of each other, having other relationships and following love where it goes in all its forms.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So with that, then, that first question for you is, what were you taught about relationships? Because my guess is it wasn't about following love in all its forms.
I was lucky. I had loving parents. I was taught love, devotion, communication. My mom's like, if you have an issue, you just got to communicate. That's the cornerstone of a good relationship, kind of the old school,
Nice.
healthy mom kind of stuff. But it was forever after. Like there was no such thing as, what I've done, like serial monogamy. And so there was a big unlearning there for me. So I had a really wonderful sort of like line to say in our form. And then Cari gets there and you said, what? What'd you learn from your parents?
Said there will be fighting and there will be more fighting. And then if you try to talk about it, there won't be any talking. Like, it's like that. Like,
I love that.
Like we don't really talk about it. And just like there wasn't a working through ever really. It was just, people, you go to your corners, eventually it calms down and everybody's nervous system calms down. And then eventually there's some kind of stability and return to civility. And so like, that's conflict in relationship and relationships in general was sort of, there was care. But like the weight of survival, I think weighed so heavily on my parents' marriage and eventually it ended up in divorce. And so there was kind of, like relationships are also like a struggle, something to get out of, something that can like constrain you. Like hard. They're hard.
Yeah.
That's what I was taught.
What I'm hearing there is that, like, that was a beautiful statement about your parents, right? Like the weight of survival. There are so many couples, right? Where we can talk about, like, here's this idea of romantic love, but if you don't know where the next meal is coming from or how to pay the bills for the rent and like get your kids to school, then this like light and easy and romantic notion of love can feel very far away.
Yeah. And if you've never been given any skills, like just so much compassion for the ways that my parents tried to figure it out and had no support to do that.
So it sounds like this common law marriage. I love that you described this, which is, I think there's a definition to what a common law marriage is. Can you state that?
It varies state to state. Colorado is very liberal in their interpretation. It's essentially that you hold yourselves out as married. So by announcing that on this podcast is a way to sort of say, hey, we are married. And then all the other things substantiate it, like, finances and time together and, mutual bank accounts, all those things support it. But if you're holding yourself in public as a married couple, then that's enough for the law in Colorado. As far as I know, like last time I really dove into this was 10 years ago. So if it hasn't changed since then, that's pretty much the standard.
Okay. And so then what would be one agreement, because you're creating now a relationship on your own terms, or what are some agreements that you have that might seem strange to some of our brave hearts listening?
We have one that we love that is maybe our favorite agreement. And we came by this agreement after the first time that we killed our relationship. And it's an agreement not to know each other. And when we say that to people, there's a little bit of a silence, right? There's a little bit like a what? Like, isn't that the whole point? It's like, I know how you take your coffee and I know your favorite song. And there was a way of like recognizing that, yes, that's all. Yes. And that happens. And we have that and it's beautiful. And there's also a way that we are like growing and we're also mysteries to ourselves. And the ways that when our partner knows us, it also limits us and keeps us in identities and keeps us in, even if they're positive ones, it's still like the known. And part of what we both are attracted to and love playing with is the mystery and the unknown and like, who am I today? And so one of us will do or say something that's just like contrary to everything they've ever done or known. And I just, we just be like, oh, I'm so glad I don't know you. Like, and it feels really freeing and really loving.
Does that ever feel destabilizing? Right? If someone like suddenly acts out of, say, left field and you're like, what's going on? Or you're just like, oh no, okay, just trusting.
It's sort of like a different order of things. When there's something that's like destabilizing like that, or there's some place where we're like there's a rub or something's just doesn't land right, that feels like a repair conversation or one of those sorts of things. But when we're in this like situation and it's usually around more trivial things, there's like, wow, really? I thought you thought differently or did differently in those circumstances. And I love that you're defying the pigeonhole that I had you in, right? So that's that. I would say that's the difference. I feel like if there comes times when we're in an experience of, disillusionment with each other, that's a different order of experience. And, usually about the time when when we decide to go ahead and kill the relationship.
I have to just say here, this is beautiful. I love it. And this reminds me, everything goes back to Waldorf. like my daughter went to a Waldorf school. You might have heard of it. It's a very different type of education from kindergarten through 8th. And the idea there is that you don't wear shirts or have lunchboxes with characters on them. And when they were in kindergarten, what they call EC, early childhood learning, they made dolls. And the dolls they made did not have faces. And in all the puppet shows I have been to, and I've been to a lot of them, none of the puppets have faces. And this is why. Yeah. Because by giving them a face or giving them a character, you're limiting them. Yep. And then therefore you're limiting the child's imagination.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, love it.
So thanks for carrying this into adulthood.
What I'm feeling is like the surprise of someone else getting to be outside of this box or outside of the pigeonhole. But really, I can feel it as like a deep sigh of relief in my system of like, oh my gosh, I don't have to be or act a certain way all the time, right? Yeah. I can feel the freedom in my own system around that, and then trust that I'm not going to be judged, right? I'm going to be seen. I'm going to be accepted. I'm going to be come at with curiosity if I do something wild and different.
Yes.
Out of character.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It really speaks to your whole idea of permission to be human. It's just like, yeah, let's have permission to change our mind, to be different, to like from taking your coffee differently or not having coffee at all to like, hey, today I actually feel really feminine. I'm not going to be the, top dark masculine that you love. I'm going to be, something that feels more congruent and may not be what I imagine you want me to be all the time. So there's so much life that opens up when you're not keeping yourself in a role relative to your beloved.
And I think one of the keys with this is that we get to do that, and we still get to belong. And I think predictability in relationship can become a belonging rule. Like, if I behave this way, I can guarantee my belonging.
Wow. Okay, that's really deep. Like, basically you're saying, like, you're trusting each other, that you're like, oh, I'm going to be different and you're still going to love me.
And I'm not going to get kicked out of the relationship or the tribe because I'm showing up in a way that you didn't expect.
You're saying, regardless of how I change, I'm still going to love you. And so I guess, where is the commitment is what comes up for me. Is like, is it a commitment to love each other? Is it a commitment to be together forever? Or maybe there isn't one. Can you help me understand that?
I think the way that I would say it is like, we are for each other no matter what. And if that ultimate good for Yana is something that doesn't involve me, or like means that there's a divergence in our paths and we can both see and feel that that's a truth, then that's what we're committed to. And yeah, and inside of that, there's just so much love. There's so much love, and there's so much congruence, and we do so many things together. And like, also there's an understanding, like, nothing lasts forever, and who knows who will be in 10 years. And the commitment is, for each of us to live the fullest expression of the souls we came here with, however that looks, without constraint and without putting boundaries on it that are based on either one of our fears or survival needs, or
or even like a sense of obligation. Like, the flip side of that is, I don't want her showing up out of some obligation or habituation. Like, that doesn't feel juicy. That doesn't feel alive. That's just like, so we're committed to the health and wellness and vitality of each other no matter what. And so, having lived in that and had our experiences of rupture and repair, have just really built a coherency and a congruency that allows for this kind of freedom to be like, oh, I also want you to be just as, free as you can be, in relating.
That's gorgeous. Like, that's so juicy and so unconventional, right? That, like, what I'm hearing, you're saying love, you're saying freedom, you're saying support, you're saying belonging. And yet the relationship that you've described so far is probably foreign to most of our listeners, right? So that format, especially an open relating format, can feel for some like, oh, you don't have commitment, you don't love deeply, there's not a lot of depth, right? You're just, it's all sexual, it's all, and like, there's a lot of or like just judgments and assumptions about what open relationships or polyamory looks like. And you guys are bringing in these values that actually very much align with what I would say is monogamy, is like, or what we're taught a relationship should provide. Mm-hmm. And you're saying, yeah, it does provide that, and it doesn't look the way that you think it's supposed to.
So I think I'm hearing it's a belonging to a mutual love. Is that correct?
I can feel that, and I think it's also like our relationship is already committed to life, and like, our relationship has a name, our relationship has its own being, and like, we're offering up the relationship as well to life, and being like, use the relationship that we have to support love and life. Like, how can this relationship be of service? And like, so I think, yeah, that needs to be included to kind of feel the full picture of what we've built.
Can you explain a little bit more? What I'm hearing is that each of you have a relationship to yourselves, and then your relationship to each other is embodied in this third being.
Totally. Yeah, there's always a third in any relationship. Right?
And so is
Sounds
it
like
the
title of
third?
the book.
Yeah, right. And we're not talking about other kinky things. Like, yeah, so, like, yeah. Yeah.
So is the third, so I want to kind of, you've talked a lot about repair and how repair has been so critical, right? There's repair and there's dissolution are the two words I've heard you use. But I'm curious, when you get to a moment of repair, is it that Cari's hurt? There needs to be repair, or is it that third being, AKA relationship, is hurt? And so the repair is coming from that perspective, or maybe can be both.
Yeah, I love the question. Yeah, I think it can be both, and it varies. What would you say, love?
Yeah, I feel we have such a field that when there's any sort of disturbance in the field, disturbance in the force, we can feel it, like it's real, like it's sort of like, oh, all right, we have this practice of like instantly tending to it. And that, when you start to really look at it, there's different ways that people are, some people are really outwardly focused and they're like focused on the externals, like, is my partner in a good way, and sort of shaping around them, or they're really focused on themselves, like, oh, I'm not in a good way and my partner needs to know. And like, I think we've sort of, in ways, sort of shifted that to like sensing what is the nature of the field that's happening between us. And of course, you take cues off your partner and you listen to what's going on inside of you. But ultimately, it's like, oh, the field feels scratchy right now. And so even if it's not obvious, and especially if it's not obvious, we'll just like say, hey, babe, what's going on right now? What's your sense of what's happening? And that leads me to the next thing is like, to me, the most powerful, most potent way of relating is curiosity, is like not assuming that they're, not giving you the love that you need, or that they're being a certain way that is the reason why you feel triggered. So it's like, gosh, it feels like something's up. What do you think's happening? What do you notice? I'm noticing this. What are you noticing? And then, you get a chance to compare notes and explore, versus like starting from a point of pointing a finger. That's really potent and powerful, and actually almost instantly disarms a situation. And you can start really on a place of together looking at the state of the relationship. It's like, let's look at what's between us and understand it. And it's really enjoyable. Every time is like a little bit deeper intimacy, a deeper sense of each other, and an opportunity to grow without the turmoil and the churn of an argument.
And I want to say, like, that's when we're at our best. And we are human too. It doesn't always work like that. Just like, not to give too much like saintly glow around us. But it is definitely our practice.
Bravehearts, if you're listening and if you're someone who's like, oh, I'm like a really curious person in general, I invite you to go deeper, because I just this week discovered the part of me that has always thought of myself as super curious, and found the part of me that isn't when I'm upset with my ex. And it was like, oh, I didn't even know I wasn't looking at that part. And I just didn't even know it existed. I didn't think it was possible for it to exist, because I had identified so strongly with curiosity as a value. And what Yana just described to me, I'm like listening to it with like new ears, because I think you said it probably on the last podcast too that you were on. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we're always learning about each other. Like there's more and more. And like depth that we get to go to. And so with that, I wanted you guys to start talking about this like death doula and how you use the phrase you killed your relationship many times. And what does that mean that since you're sitting here together smiling?
In the general sense, we've had the privilege of being in certain containers that have oriented towards what does it look like to go through an ego death, to disidentify with who you think you are and open up to what's possible. And so we applied the same thing to our relationship through the course of one of these experiences. Actually, she came to me in her wisdom and was like, look, if we're going to do this, don't we also need to dissolve our relationship or kill our relationship? Because otherwise we'll be carrying that into this experience. And I was like, fuck, you're right. I wasn't ready. This was like a new idea. We were just barely a year into the relationship. And
we were really happy and in love. And had just had like a romantic 3 days in Malta and then like went into this course to die. And so we were just totally on one level not wanting, like there was no reason, there was nothing wrong. There was no reason to kill it.
Yeah. Really what it was at that point was just a ritualized intentional closure. And we had our last dinner together on the sunset beach, and we had a last kiss. We then cut our cords and energetically, and then separated our altar and vacated the room that we had and slept in different places and split up for the duration of this experience.
Which was, just to put it in context, about 3 days.
3 days,
right?
yeah.
Days,
3
so
days.
we're in the same container, but not in communication, which is its own, like, fascinating, like, high sensation can feel every time I tell the story of what it's like to be in that space, to be in our own underworld experiences. In this particular experience, you don't have an identity for 3 days. So it's like all on the table, and we didn't know. And when, like, what we agreed was like, we'll know when we know, and if we're meant to come back together and we're pulled back together, then we'll know when that's true.
Mm-hmm. And it's so powerful. It's so powerful to have to do this and then choose each other again.
Yeah.
Because you come back together and you're just like, oh, wow. It's, even though we're only a year in, like, there were places I was taking you for granted. And there were places where my shit was kind of like fogging me to the nature of what was going on. And so it's just a dramatically clarifying experience. And we've since then done it 3 more times. This last time, more out of what you would call necessity, or because things were needed to shift. So the first 3 were sort of like preventative healthcare. This last one was like, oh, we need it. We need a revitalization. And each time we genuinely go into this death in the underworld or the descent experience as if we might not get together again. Because the degree to which you can somatically and really ritually go there is the degree to which you gain this clarity in this beautiful liminal between time. And there's so much power in that space, because you just, like, all of your stuff comes to the surface. Your attachment, your little pieces, all those things that are running in the background in the relationship that you think might be really good, all of a sudden show themselves, and they pop up when there's that severance. And so you get this real crystal clear peak, it's like you're your own best friend saying, hey, when you do that thing, that's because you're attached to him, and you're just being really anxious. You just get that download, and then you get to choose to come, change and rebirth either back into the relationship or into the next chapter of your life, but with that clarity. What are you going to say, love?
Well, just, yeah, I think the parts come up, and also whatever parts have wanted to be free from the relationship, no matter how good it is, the ways that we either, like for ourselves, will again keep ourselves in a shape or keep ourselves in a certain way. Like in that death, the parts that want to be free are free again. Like they get a moment to like feel what it feels like to come back to just being in my sovereignty, to doing it my own way, or that thing that does annoy me, but I really love the other person, so I put up with it. It's like, oh my gosh, I've got 5 days without that thing happening, even as much as I love them in all other ways. It's like it's a balance. And this idea that we're sold of happily ever after, right? And like happily ever after is a flat line. Like that's not life. That's not alive, right? So like anything that's alive is either in the growing and birthing or it's in its dying phase. And to be able to have a relationship with those cycles is part of the much bigger picture of where we are in society and in civilization at the moment, is a reconnection with giving death its place. And part of what we are up to and are like seeing with the people we're working with is like, we know it like cognitively, death and life are right here. Like they're right together. So the more that we avoid death, we're also avoiding the fullness of life at the same time. So can we, as the ancients said, the key to life is to die before you die. And so can we do that? And can we do that in our relationships where it's like our most intimate and our most vulnerable and feel the possibility of that there?
Wow, there's just so much running under the surface. And I think I've like cleaned it all out. And like, I'm a good purger. I'm a good organizer. I was like, no, I've got it. Like I brought that up. I brought that up. No, I brought that up too. And yet there's more. How you described it, Cari, with in relationship to to life and death and everything that has life actually dies, right? As we're in winter in Denver right now, and my gorgeous tree out front, my silver maple is no trees on it. You can tell it's in its winter hibernation, and yet I know in just a few months it's going to blossom with all of these buds and all of these leaves. But that it feels, even in its death, there's aliveness there. Right? It's not dead. Yeah.
And so I love how you just described that. I haven't heard you describe it that way before. And what I'm also fascinated by is neither of you have seemed to have said that, oh, you put your relationship on the altar because of someone else per se, right? Like, oh, you're in an open relationship, so it's threatened. It's this third thing. The relationship is like, hey, I'm the one who needs something right now, and I'm asking for more life or death to come.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I really love that. I hadn't really considered it from that particular angle, but it really is a service to the relationship and holding that in this way. Like Andrea, like you just said, like there's always stuff that's accumulating in the background, unconscious, subconscious, like resentments or just even little things are just building in habits. And you can be the best communicators, the best whatever, and there's always stuff building up. You can just assume it. It's just like on a computer, you need to defrag the hard drive every so often, otherwise it just like doesn't run right. And so what we do is hit the reset button. And that death allows the composting of all that junk that was in there during that descent period. And that compost turns around and serves the life that is rebirthed. It serves the spring for the tree and the buds that come out.
So when you work with couples, like I'm thinking of Bravehearts, if you're listening, if you're like, oh, is this right for us? Can you give us some Like, is this monogamous? Is this open? Are you new? Or have you been together for 20 years? What happens if you have kids? Do you can't stand each other? Do you have to do you still have to love each other? Like who benefits and do you work with?
All of it.
The answer is yes.
Yes. The answer is yes, all of it. We work with people who are, where it feels like maybe this is the end. And we're not sure, but it seems like it's the end. And so they're going to come to us and they're going to have a death to see, like, is it really true? And when we are into the underworld and we have a break and we really feel our sovereignty again, is their life pulling us back together? So we work with couples who are trying to figure that out. We also work with couples who are clear, like it's over, and we want to do it consciously. And even in that case, like there's a conscious closure phase, there's being in the underworld, and even when they know they're not coming back together, there is a rebirth. If they want to do it consciously, to be able to say, like even in the underworld, these are the things I learned. These are the gifts of the relationship. This is what was hard. And there's a reverence for what we had and to complete cleanly in a way that means we're not carrying things over into the next relationship in a way that is either just inefficient and repetitive or, harmful. That like everything needs to be given its place of what this was and honored and seen. And so we have couples who are both in alignment with that. We also have people who are like, my partner doesn't want to do this, but I want to do this. And so we can guide an individual through doing it themselves, even if their partner isn't up for doing it in that way, so that their experience is conscious. We've also done it having kids and like living together. So there's ways of, and supported other couples who are living together and have to figure out, okay, we want to do this. How do we manage it when we're in the same house? Or like, is one of us on a trip, or do we schedule it? Like, all the logistics of that, and permutations of that.
I'd also add, even for folks that have been out of relationship for a long period of time, you might still be haunted by the ghosts of a past relationship. It could be, 6 months ago, I was talking to a guy, 3 years have passed and he can't get into the new relationship because he's still sort of haunted by the unresolved ghosts, if you will, of what had happened. So we'll be going through this practice for him to, ritually release that and allow for that underworld experience. He's sort of been in his own limbo, right? Which is a kind of underworld. But this is one where you really go all the way down, you commune with the ancestors, you commune with your grief, and you gain the insight that allows you to make a conscious choice. Say, hey, now I'm ready to move on to the next chapter.
What does this kind of container look like? Is it kind of standardized in that it's like a week long, or is it a 3-month thing, or like what's the kind of commitment are we talking about?
It varies, and that's part of what we will work with people on, is to figure out, well, what's the right length for what is happening for you. And I think for some couples where things have been really enmeshed or really entrenched, or that's been a longer term relationship, there might need to be a little bit longer. Maybe it's 2 weeks, maybe it's a month. For others, it's like, okay, 7 days is good. Like, we're going to take a week apart. So I think there's variables in terms of what is going to be a good death that's going to serve where you are and what's happening in the relationship.
Is there anything unconventional that creates intimacy for you that you want to share with Brave Hearts?
I think we touched on this in the last podcast, but compersion has been, that's a new word to some folks. And for me, it lives in the same spectrum as jealousy. So some people, like, jealousy is very real. It's a thing that they just like don't have a choice about. And for me, compersion is very real. Like she'll tell me about her experiences with someone else, and I literally have a physiological erection. Like that happens. And so I don't have much of a choice about that. But I just mean to say it's on a spectrum because it's all sensation, right? So just like pain, pleasure, some people's pain is other people's pleasure. Some people's like jealousy to me is a version of like turn on. Like there's a lot of energy there, and there's different ways that we can choose to interpret the sensation that we're having. Now, that sounds a lot simpler than it is in reality. Like jealousy is a really difficult, multifaceted experience, and it's real. But it is I would say that Cari's been on more of a journey and an arc with that has turned to compersion and has had some experiences that have it also be an experience of deepening intimacy.
And I really love working with people on around this who are exploring it, because so much of it is the somatic sensations that happen in our bodies and our stories and our ability to tolerate certain sensations, and being with those. And my journey with it led me into a deeper trust of life. And it led me, like, I didn't know that I didn't know that's where I was going to go, but the ability to trust what I don't understand and what I feel is love for my partner is like relaxing back into the deeper trust of all it is. That is the deeper trust of like, there's some love there, and there's life there, and there's an intelligence there that I don't always understand. But when I feel my partner is happy and thriving and pleasurable because of it, then that reps of that just breed a greater trust.
It is like clockwork. When there's some disruption or there's something that we're like out of whack with each other, and we sit down, we take the time to go through, we have our way of repair. You like you somatically know when you hit that place of like, oh, you can take a full exhale, and then you're like, yes, we've met this place, we see each other, we understand that love is beneath all of this, and then 9 times out of 10 it's a communication breakdown or whatever. But when you get to that point, it's just like, oh, there's a deepening into your humanness with this other human that just is not, you don't get there by just having good times together necessarily. Like it's one of those unique experiences of intimacy that bind and sort of become the backbone of a relationship to me. I feel like the more successful repairs you have, the stronger the relationship. Which is somewhat counterintuitive. People sort of think, oh, if you had to repair a lot, that means there must be a lot wrong. It's like, actually, there's a lot of like really strong nodes in the arc or in that experience of that relationship. Those repair nodes are like doubled over with experience and love and connection. And so I kind of relish those, like when something's because when something's up, I kind of get giddy. I'm like, oh shit, here we go. We got something to dig into. Let's repair, And of course, you can't force it. There's no like forced exhale. Like you know when it's real.
Yeah.
So yeah, going there is just exciting to experience and feel.
I am anticipating Braveheart questions, and a question I've had in the past is, if you're a really busy couple with 3 kids and 2 dogs and a mother-in-law you're taking care of, how do you keep repairing in the moment?
Bookmarks is part of it, right? Is like, it's like not stepping over it or not pretending it's not there, but like having a way with each other to be like, all right, bookmark that. We'll get to it tonight before we go to bed, but like we can't deal with it right now. We've had code words at different moments about things like, and also, like with death. Like the last time we killed it, we were in the middle of like launching an event. Like we needed to like talk to each other, and like we needed to have logistical conversations, but we had a boundary, you know, like, so it was like, we're doing the logistics. That's all we're doing. We're not getting into anything else. If we have to relate, like just being clear on those boundaries.
And I hear with that is a lot of devotion and a lot of discipline. Yeah. And a lot of personal boundary holding.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd say similarly for sex and intimacy is like scheduling, and you hear that all the time. But one thing that I think is really important is like you schedule this I would call it intimacy time, not with the expectation there's going to be like, you know, intercourse, because that can also like flatten things. Like show up with enough free time to explore what's true and what's alive between you in that moment. It might be the most resourcing thing is cuddles or, you know, whatever your love language that you figured out with each other is really powerful, and not assume that it's intercourse. And then, you know, if you can have a code word for like, let's have some spontaneous, you know, fun time. It's nice to have that, to just like say, hey, we've got this code word, and you know, you might not use it but once a week, but it's like, it's nice to also have this way to be spontaneous. So having the schedule, but not pressuring the schedule to be a certain thing, and then also a way to be spontaneous is really potent, powerful.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Bravehearts, you've got some homework there now. There's a lot to digest. You're going to I recommend listening to this podcast again on regular speed.
Yeah, that's such a good point.
Yeah. And just a reminder that we've talked to on another podcast, we talked about a repair conversation. There's a framework there. We have another podcast with Yana on it. They're both in our series on how to talk about sex and intimacy with your partner. So that can be really useful as well. Okay. Fabulous friends and guests who are oh so wise. If our Bravehearts wanted to get a hold of you to talk about death and death dueling their relationship, how do they do that?
Well, we have our website, relationshipdeathdoulas.life, and it's live, it's working, it's functional. I'm very excited. I've put so much work into that. We've also got a Substack, Relationship Death Doulas on Substack. We've got a whole bunch of really fun articles there.
I want to say thank you to both of you for the invitation to be on here, and also for this work, and for your podcast, and for
your podcast is awesome.
Bringing the beauty and the humanness and the messiness and the taboo and all the things that you've brought over the course of this podcast. Like, it's such a gift, and I bow to both of you and your service that this has been.
Received. Thank you.
Received.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Okay, Bravehearts. It's possible we've got like one episode left of Permission to Be Human. Yana and Cari are kind of taking us home here. So thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you, Bravehearts, of course, for listening. Have a great day.
Thanks, Bravehearts. We love you. Bye-bye.
Love you.
Hey, Bravehearts. Looking for permission? Work with us. We offer Braveheart coaching. Follow us on Instagram. Meet us in real life at a Braveheart conversation. Subscribe to our newsletter. Do all this and more at our website, permissiontobehuman.live.